Alrighty. Hello, everyone. My name is Priscilla Campos. I'm the Associate Director of Admission for Dodge College. I'd like to welcome you for our Discover Chapman Film Production Program info session. I just want to let you know if you could please keep yourself muted. The faculty have a short presentation for you, and then we will be going into our Q&A, so we will answer your questions. If you want to start off by asking your questions as they're presenting, that's totally fine. You can type your question in the chat. We have staff members on the back end who will be answering your questions, and then I will leave some room to answer questions live at the end. So I'll go ahead and get started. I will pass it over to our film production program coordinator, Eric Young.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I can't see you all, but I can imagine you all out there. I'm the film production program coordinator, as Priscilla said, and so I'm going to try to moderate the first part of this. I would like to introduce to you briefly, I would like to have each of my colleagues that are involved in this today, from administration and faculty, to introduce themselves, and I'll just call them out and just have them say hi. Let's start with Michael Kowalski, who's our Senior Associate Dean.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Michael Kowalski, Senior Associate Dean. I've been at Chapman for 20 years, and my background's actually in documentary and sound design, and I teach a sound design course once a semester. So anyhow, nice meeting you all.
Also, Dan Leonard, an Associate Dean for Dodge.
Hello everyone, I'm Dan Leonard. I'm an Associate Dean, and I'm also Chief Technology Officer. I teach production and oversee all of the tech and production at the school.
And Pavel Yek, another Associate Dean.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Chapman virtually this time. We hopefully have a chance to meet you in person one day in the future. It's a pleasure to be talking to all of you. I teach screenwriting, which is my background, and I've been here for about 4 years at the college.
And I'd like to introduce some of our faculty that are with us. Scott Arundale, who's in the editing program. Oops, Scott, I think you need to unmute. Oh, there you go.
Hello, my name's Scott Arundale. I'm an editor and producer. I've been teaching at Dodge for, I think this is my 14th year. I've had some experience as a producer as well, but mostly I just love editing and post-production. So, you know, if you have any questions at the end of this, feel free to hit me up.
And we also have John Chichester in production design.
Hi. As you can imagine, my professional background is in production design. Before I came to teach at Chapman, my first real job, about 7 years ago. Before then, I was working in art departments as a production designer and art director, a storyboard artist, illustrator, a set designer for about 30 years. So you can look me up on IMDb. I also have a website, johnchichester.com. You can check that out. And you can also just send me an email if you have a question for me, if this is a little too much of a forum for you. So I'd love to hear from you. Okay, thank you, Eric. Bye-bye.
Thanks, John. And then also Bill Dill from cinematography.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bill Dill, and I teach cinematography. I'm the head of the cinematography department. I have some courses online if you're interested in taking a look at those on lynda.com. And I'm thrilled you're here. Thanks for coming.
And last but not least, Roy Finch in sound and other things.
Hi, everybody. I'm Roy. I teach sound and other things, and also have electronic music band, and work with the sound designers and all things post-production and sound and music. So definitely feel free to ask any questions here or email me. We look forward to seeing you next fall.
Thanks, Roy. And so after we have a short presentation, and after that you'll be able to ask questions, and all of these individuals will be able to answer them. But in addition to them, we also have 3 of our students here with us today: Eli Weiss, Joshua Wisdom, and Austin Zollers, who will be available to answer questions as well. So by the way, I didn't say anything about myself. I teach in the film production program. I've also taught creative producing, but it's sort of a day player that does a little bit of various things. And I've been here for about 10 years now. So without further ado, let me share my screen so I can take you through the program. So this is sort of a very general overview of Dodge College, and a few of my colleagues may jump in from time to time, but this first screen is our statement of what we're about. So as BFA students, we feel that this sort of thing is what you're here to do, to introduce you to prepare you to the all aspects of film production in general, but also so that you can focus on a specific emphasis at a certain point. Both the creative side of what we do, as well as the logistics and other issues that are related to film production. And as you all know, it's a Bachelor of Fine Arts program. However, it is a liberal arts education, so you will be taking many classes on main campus as well, and we encourage you to avail yourselves of all that Chapman has to offer in all the various colleges and disciplines. And as you may know, a Bachelor of Fine Arts program is there's a little more of an emphasis. There's more classes involved, so that you're working in kind of you're taking a pre-professional program. And what you see on this screen here are basically the core requirements of all film production students. These are a combination of mostly, a lot of them are workshops, but there's also a number of lecture classes. And as you can see, there's a great variety. In this group, and again, all film production students, regardless of emphasis, take these classes. So if you sort of look through this group, Introduction to Visual Storytelling, Intermediate Production, which is in the right column, are production workshop classes that you all take. But then you also take classes to introduce you to all of the various key disciplines: cinematography, editing, production design, sound. And then you also will take screenwriting class, a basic screenwriting class. You'll take audio techniques. You'll take some film script analysis as well on the writing, sort of the writing analysis side, and then a couple of film history courses that are taught chronologically. Oh, and I forgot, I left out directing one, very important. But everybody takes these classes, regardless of what emphasis that you end up in, so that you all have sort of a common background in the main practices in film production. And also, very importantly, I forgot, animation and visual effects, which is an important part of what we do today. And as I mentioned a minute ago, after you have been here for 2 years, at the end of your sophomore year, each student is required to declare their emphasis. And here they are. These are the 5: directing, cinematography, editing, production design, and sound design. Now, in each of these disciplines, once you declare your emphasis, you are also still allowed to take electives within, actually required to take electives within Dodge. And of course, you can take those in any of the disciplines that are available to you. So they could be film studies classes. They could be, if you're, say, a director and you have an interest in cinematography, you could take an additional class in cinematography. We also offer independent studies and internships. So all of those would qualify as what you would take in your required electives. And for many of the disciplines, I believe for all but directors, you get to take 3 required upper division electives, and they can be from anywhere in the Dodge College. Directors take 2 classes, 3 for everyone else. So here's a list of some of the special skills that you will learn and develop in our school. Obviously, creativity. The second item, collaboration, is something we very much pride ourselves on in this program. It is a very important thing to engender in a discipline that involves working with a group of people who are all contributing to a common goal. Communication, very important. Leadership, problem solving, filmmaking, television making, whatever you want to call it. It's all about solving problems, and there are many to solve. So it's a very key aspect of being a filmmaker. Critical analysis. And our approach, this has been from the very beginning of this program. You learn by doing. We always advertise that you get a camera in your hand on day 1. So you start out by working immediately in workshops, and everybody works in these workshops and classes. So you learn through doing. And we have a great deal of project-based learning. As an example, directors, for example, start out every year you're involved in a production workshop where you create product. And then in terms of directing from visual storytelling to intermediate production, then advanced production, and then a thesis project. All students in this program, regardless of discipline, work on these projects. And then everybody, of course, has a thesis component in their senior year where you are involved in capstone projects to complete your education. Again, very collaborative. We pride ourselves on that. We hear a lot from people on the outside about how collaborative we are. We teach our students standard industry standards and practices. We also have, in addition to that, we have programs that we've introduced that veer into some of the sort of non-traditional programs as well. But for the most part, most of the production that we do is based on established industry standards in the mainstream film industry. As you'll find out, or as you already know from looking at our program, we also have classes in AR, VR. We have classes in, we've had a class in music video. We do various things at our school that are non-mainstream, but also very important to what you'll be doing in the future. We also like our students to be fully entrenched in the business of the entertainment industry, how it works, how you will work in it going forward, how to enter it in the first place, how to create a resume, how to understand exactly how the business works in addition to developing your own art and craft. And we also pride ourselves on being very student-centric and available to you at all times to help you in your personal growth in our program. So we have a very high level of mentorship among our faculty, and we pride ourselves on that. This is a snapshot of our faculty. It's a few years old, but gives you an idea of the size of our faculty. It's actually much larger than this if you count our part-time faculty. And this is across all of our programs in both divisions. We have a film division and a media arts division. And in the film division, we cover film production. We have a screen acting component. We have film studies. We have screenwriting and creative producing. And those are the basic components of our program. And then on the other side, in the media arts division, they have other programs such as documentary, television, PR advertising, animation and visual effects. And I know I'm forgetting one. I think maybe I got them all. Broadcast journalism was the one I missed. And by the way, again, with those required electives that you take in the film production program, as I said, you can take classes in any Dodge program that's available to you. So if you have an interest in documentary, or there's a PR advertising class you'd like to take, you would be eligible to do that as long as it's available to non-majors or non-majors in that particular discipline. And this is Paul Cedar, who teaches in our editing program, working with a student at an editing console. As I said, we're very, very closely mentorship with the students, and that's the hallmark of what we do. As you probably have all heard, we've got terrific facilities. We have everything you need: equipment, sound stages, digital capabilities, software packages, all available to our students in the program. I don't know if Dan, if you want to say anything about this, about the breadth of what we have at the moment.
Yeah, we have in the equipment room, we have a number of RED cameras. We have an Alexa. We have Sony F65s. So origination up to 6K. I saw in the chat that someone was asking whether we still have film cameras. Primarily, we shoot digital, although it is possible to get an experience, particularly for the cinematographers in film. And then you have a choice if you want to shoot film, although there are costs involved with that. There are also Johnny Jensen, who's one of our cinematographers, arranges each year to get a Panavision camera, and he sort of instructs on that. So a lot of folks get some experience with film production there. We have Avid and Pro Tools, mixing boards, where we all of our computers are slaved together. There's a render farm as well as a virtual reality sort of production as well. So we're probably one of the best equipped facilities on the planet. Also, their dedicated television studio space, Foley, 5 mixing stages, 5 shooting stages. One has a standing set on it, and we're a little bit unusual in that we also have a production design program with dedicated space for props in the scene shop, and I'm sure John Chichester will talk a little bit about that later.
All right, thank you, Dan. So as you can see, we have a very comprehensive facility. It's spread across basically 3 different buildings. There's, the main building, Marion Knott Studios. Then across the street, we have the Digital Arts, Media Arts building. And then we have Chapman Studios West that's just around the block. We have great connections to the film industry, as we've, have practicing filmmakers working in our program. As you probably all know, our dean is our new dean now is the former executive editor of the Hollywood Reporter. So we have great connections with the industry, which we make available to you. We bring people in to guest lecture in our classes and teach. This semester, for example, we're teaching master classes pretty much on a weekly basis from well-known people in the industry that I'll mention to you, and I'll actually show you a few of those in a moment on another slide. We offer internship programs at many of the major studios, production houses, all sorts of access that you could possibly use in all of the related entertainment industries, film, television, and so forth. As I mentioned a moment ago, this semester we're offering for the first time sort of a formal weekly master class with people. This is just a sampling of the people that we're having. And I can tell you just a little bit about each of them. Ruth Carter is an Academy Award winning costume designer who conducted a class. She's worked on many films, and you would know her work from Black Panther, for which she won the Academy Award. Dean Cundy is a celebrated cinematographer who made a lot of terrific films you would know, like Apollo 13, Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, the original Halloween. Judd Apatow, you probably recognize his name. He's a writer, producer, director who's been around and quite prominent in the industry. Donna Langley is the chairperson of Universal Studios. Manola Dargis is a leading film critic in the world, and she works for the LA Times. Richard Lovett is the president of Creative Artists Agency, CAA, one of the leading talent agencies, and Lulu Wang is the director, who you would probably know from a recent film she made called The Farewell. And this is just a sampling of the people that we have. They're doing these master classes this semester anyway on Zoom once a week. And this is just a sampling of the people that we have that are involved with our school. What we usually do, we're not doing it this semester at this point, is we have a filmmaker in residence. And this is Bill Gerber, who was the producer of A Star is Born, who was our last filmmaker in residence last year. And they actually come to the campus, they work with students, they screen their work, students get to interact with them. We have a class that they're part of where they screen their work, and prior to the class, they have dinner every week with a rotating group of students in our college. I might let someone talk a little bit about Women in Focus. Michael, you want to take this one and talk about it a minute, about the history of it? I can jump in. Are you on mute?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay.
I'm muting my microphone here.
No worries.
So Women in Focus is an event we have once a year, usually in April. I think we've been doing it since I arrived back 20 years ago. And it's women that work, very accomplished women that work at very high levels in the industry. And every year we pick a kind of an area. So we've done screenwriters, we've done producers. I think we've even done one on streaming where we had people from Netflix and kind of different streaming platforms. It's an all-day event. There's a luncheon, and there's an award too that's handed out to some of our women filmmakers. And then there's a panel that lasts about an hour, and then there's a reception after. And it's a great way, I think, to kind of find out kind of what's happening in the industry at a high level, and how women are very much involved at very high levels, and sometimes the challenges that they face. throughout their careers. So it's usually a very inspiring event. So thank you.
Thanks, Michael. And also, as I mentioned a moment ago, this is an indication of how many internships we do per year. Again, across all agencies, production companies, studios. We've had people work at Netflix, you name it, and there's quite a bit of that, and suited for everybody in each discipline. So we have a very robust internship program. Okay, the international programs. Again, and Michael, I'm going to ask you to speak a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, so we had, there's a lot of international. First of all, there's the semester abroad, and that's usually managed by the university. We kind of encourage our students to do that. I'm a very big kind of proponent of study abroad. I did it myself years ago. I was in Paris for a year and really had an amazing kind of transformative experience. So we encourage our students to do a semester abroad if you can. It's a little tricky with a film production degree because you have a lot of required classes, but it's manageable. You just have to plan ahead. Usually most of our students go their sophomore year. Junior year tends to be a busy time in production, and obviously senior year you're doing your senior thesis. So most of them, I think, aim to go their second semester sophomore year, and the CGE, which is the office on campus that actually manages it, is very accommodating with film production students, and they kind of know when the best time for them to go. We have programs all over the world, in very exotic places. I remember students going to Fiji. We've had students go to South Africa, and then you have kind of more common places like France and England. You also have some of the programs have internships that are part of the deal, so those are also very popular, mostly in English-speaking countries. And then we have courses, travel courses, and actually Eric has gone on a few of those. And those are usually about 2 to 3 weeks long. They tend to happen either at interterm, which is the January term. That's a very popular time to go. And then there's some during the summer. I would say there's usually about 3 or 4 that are Dodge specific, because there are also some that are offered through the campus. And you're welcome to, basically pick whichever course you want. Sometimes it's selected. You have to kind of apply for it. Sometimes it's not at all. You can just basically just show interest and, basically go on the course. The courses we have range from, there's a course in Bologna in the summer, which is a festival. They go to the Cinema Trovato. Tends to attract a lot of film study students, but a lot of production students go on it. You're in for 2 weeks, I think, or maybe even more in Bologna. I think it's usually late June, early July. And it's a beautiful festival. It's restored films, and they screen all over the city in public spaces. So there's also James Gardner has one in Greece. Very interesting one. They spend a week first at school on campus writing scripts based on Greek mythology, and then they go to Greece, and part of it is traveling through Greece and kind of cultural immersion, and part of it is actually shooting these short projects in different locations in Greece. So yeah, it depends. Faculty usually initiate them, so every year we have different ones, and sometimes we even have collaborations, partnerships with other film schools, film schools like film school in Korea, Taiwan. I think Roy Finch went to one in India. So there's a lot of possibilities there, and definitely encourage you to get involved.
Great, thank you, Michael. We also have, as a kind of a travel course, also the Sundance Film Festival class, which happens every spring. That's another one that occurs. Oops, and there goes that's the last slide that I have.
Yeah.
That's another example of one of our travel courses. And I'd like to point out that one of the travel courses that was listed was in Costa Rica last year. They did a travel trip where they went from one end of the country, one side of the country to the other, and made a documentary. And they did it, I believe, on bicycles. They had a great time.
Yeah, no, actually they did it on bikes, I think canoes, walking. It was basically everything but motorized. So it was on their own kind of power, I guess.
So with that, I'll send it back to you, Priscilla.
Yeah, thank you so much, Eric. We've definitely got a lot of questions. Our staff are busy in the chat answering those, but a majority of the questions I'll sum up and pull up some of the ones that I think should be answered for the group at whole. So for the faculty, how do we foster collaboration? I know a lot of you are in different emphasis, which is great. So how do we get the different emphasis to work together? And also how do we get different classes to work together? So our freshmen collaborating with seniors and vice versa. Go ahead and answer if you can.
Yeah, I can probably answer that. So the structure of the undergraduate program is really built on collaboration. That's really a pillar of the program here at Dodge. And so, as Eric mentioned in the PowerPoint, the first 2 years are sort of general and everyone's sort of doing a little bit of everything. So you try out some cinematography, editing, directing, and then you declare your emphasis. In the junior year, we have a collaborative project, which is called AP, advanced production, and all the students work together on that. So cinematographers shoot, editors edit, sound designers sound design, directors direct, producers produce. And those are actually spiderweb with a number of other courses. So people taking set management courses work in set management on the sets. Folks in cinematography courses underclassmen work with the upperclassmen. So there's a lot of mentorship that happens there as well. And that's it's also in this particular class, the screenwriters write the material that's shot. So for directors, they're not making their own projects. And a lot of people really just love this sort of aspect of the program. It's where a lot of friendships are made and a lot of that aspect of collaboration is learned. And then in senior thesis, we also have folks work within their emphasis. If you're in cinematography or editing or production design, the requirement is to do 2 of those projects, or sound design as well, and then work on another 2 for each of those. So there's a lot of collaboration between all of the emphasis. We also have grants for producer-initiated thesis, so sometimes the producers will actually initiate the project rather than the director. We also have grants for collaboration between visual effects and animation and production as well.
And I'd just like to add to that, it's not only the structure and the plan of the school which fosters collaboration, it's become over the years the spirit of the school as well. So we tend to attract a lot of students who know that that's what they want. They want to come to a place that's collaborative. Maybe they went to a school where they were the only film person or the only TV person, but here they know they're going to find a lot of others that are kind of thinking the same way, and they all want to work together, and they want to divide up their talents and take on different roles that kind of complement each other. And that spirit is not only within our school, but it's part of our reputation and what we carry going forward. A lot of employers, a lot of companies, a lot of people in the film industry know this about Chapman now. It's kind of, the students have been here before, have been very good at developing a collaborative environment and a collaborative ethos, and they carry that with them. So when students are leaving for their internships or for their first jobs, people know that they're expecting that collaboration from them, and they live up to it. So it kind of carries on. They work together when they finish. So it's a big part of the Chapman identity, and we're very aware of that as faculty. And so much of what we do is try to make sure that we live up to that, whether it's through the big grand design or through the little things we do in our classes.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I know directing is very popular, so if we could hear from faculty in another emphasis, why are the other emphasis so special, and why would someone come here for another emphasis? So cine, editing, sound, John with production design. If you had advice for someone interested in that, what would it be?
Advice, if you're interested in production design, well, my immediate advice would be to contact me right away, so I can tell you about the program, and we can discuss it. You know, we can talk about why you're interested in it and what you'd like to do, and you know, so that would be my suggestion.
Awesome. Scott, Bill, or Roy?
Well, you might want to study cinematography because it's great. I've never wanted to do anything else. Ever since I was a little kid, I had an affinity for the visual image, and destroyed my first roll of film when I was about 4. And I wanted to see it. I shot it, and then I wanted to see it, so I took it out of the camera and held it to the lights. That's true. Um, Cinematography is the most beautiful, satisfying thing in the world. It's kind of like what I think one of the great descriptions of aviation is that flying is a wonderful combination of beauty, science, and adventure. And I think that's a great description of cinematography.
Mm.
I'm going to jump in here and just say that a lot of people come into school thinking they know what they want to do, and then they find there's other avenues that they want to pursue. So it's really a process of discovery for some. Others are absolutely dead set on certain avenues, but we offer the full range of production. And because you're collaborating, you can learn from each other as well as from us. And it's true, like John Chichester said, if you're interested, come talk to us because we can, detail what it really means. And so oftentimes a sophomore or a junior will come to me and say, "Hey, Scott, I really want to pursue a career in editing." And I say, "Great," and we form a bond, and it goes all through the 4 years, even after you graduate, because I have been tapping on our alums who are working in the industry to come back and speak to the current students, to share their war stories. A good example was a gentleman named Hector Padilla. And Hector started as a post PA working for Marvel, and he's now second assistant editor. He'll be soon working as a first assistant, and eventually he'll become an editor. It's you still have to pay your dues. You still have to learn your craft. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science is just both, as Bill mentioned. It's both technical in nature and it's creative. So we celebrate both. It's not just a trade school. You still have to do your GEs and become a citizen, a global citizen. So, but again, it's all about finding your passion, finding, what you're excited about.
I would say that many things that were said apply certainly to sound. One of the things that I tell the people who are interested in sound design is it's you are very hireable when you graduate Chapman University. As a director, maybe you have a couple of films that you can show in a reel under your belt, but some of the more proactive sound designers are graduating with upwards of a dozen short films on their resume. So it's an impressive resume. You certainly know all of the basics that you can step into any kind of media, whether it's television or cinema or some of the newer media, because they use a lot of the similar principles. So on a practical level, and we also have, I think, one of the best sound programs in any film school in the country. So feel free
Awesome.
to email if you want to know more information.
Yes, we're going to put emails in the chat, so we're happy to answer and connect you guys. I'm going to ask the elephant in the room. How has the transition been with COVID? I know this is we're a very hands-on program and college as a whole. So can you guys talk a little bit about how your classes are going, how you're connecting with students, and just kind of an update on some production stuff?
Yeah, I can sort of start us off with COVID. We actually had to shut production down back in March in the middle of some productions when the disease was sort of first discovered. And we actually now have put protocols in place that are allowing us to return to production. We just last weekend had our first film shoot. It is a little bit different. Everyone's needing to do social distancing. Things operate a little slower. There needs to be a COVID compliance officer, and we're following industry and health safety guidelines. So slowly but surely, we're getting back to doing production, but in a varied way. We also the campus reopened for hybrid instruction. The graduate students returned on October 5th, and we're anticipating next Monday for undergraduate classes to return to on-campus learning. But again, these are sort of slow steps. There's social distancing, testing required before you come. The cap right now is sort of based on the amount of students that can safely fit in the space. So those are sort of small steps, and then certain classes will remain online for the semester, like screenwriting and things that don't need hands-on. Our sort of focus is first to make the facilities available. We've also invested a lot of money in making our computing power available from home and putting software in people's hands as well. So we are a very hands-on class or school, and that still is continuing even in the times of COVID.
Yeah, I would just add to what Dan's saying. Obviously the situation has not been ideal. It's been a challenge, and everyone's had to make some sacrifices and compromises in all aspects of their life. And but we continue onward. This is a community. We're dedicated to creative development. We're dedicated to intellectual exploration. That goes on. One of the things that's characteristics of our school is we're very adaptable, and we're also we're always trying to reinvent ourselves, and we're always we're connected to the industry, and we're trying to work with them and see what they do. So in terms of COVID, a lot of our professors have been in talks with like the Screen Actors Guild, which has done a lot of innovation on how to run a set in this and how to do a production in this time. Other professors have been in touch with the other guilds, with the Directors Guild, the Cinematographers Union. It's they've been in touch with that, and our professors are also practitioners. So some of them are already on certain locations, on certain projects where they already are working under these new conditions. Of course, we hope that we don't have to continue in this for too much longer, but we're adapting to it as we can. Another characteristic of Dodge is, most of our classes are smaller. It really does come down to this principle of one-on-one mentorship. And again, it's not ideal, but a lot of that does continue in an intimate Zoom space, so yes, we used to have our classes like of 12 students and a professor in a small classroom. That's not really possible right now. Some of it's hybrid, but a lot of that can continue in a Zoom type of consultation. Another thing that kind of continues is, we're very open to our professors to mentorship and to being accessible for students to contact them in a way, because professors are not restricted to being in their office only during their office hours with students waiting out in front. They can have these Zoom phone calls or other communications with them at all sorts of varied times. They can fit that in a little bit more. So again, it's not an ideal situation. Obviously, it's been a challenge for all of us, but we continue with our kind of core approach to education despite it all.
Thank you, guys. I think this might be for Scott. I know go ahead, Bill.
Well, one of the things that's happening is that I have students all over the world. We all do. And because of the flexibility, as Pavel was just saying, I've had meetings during my normal office hours, but I've also had meetings whenever it was possible for the students. One of my teaching assistants is on his way back from Madrid. So it was, it meant that I had a number of students who were in various parts of Europe, which, he was able to communicate with. So we're trying to be flexible and adaptable, and I consider this a golden opportunity in a way, because it has given me a chance to revisit the underlying fundamentals of cinematography. I think sometimes we might be a little too fast to grab a camera and go run out and shoot with it, but this has given us a chance to sort of settle down and talk about basic underlying principles. We spent a lot of time talking about factors and elements of cinematography that maybe would have taken a back seat to production management of a particular production. Instead of that, we've gone back to the basics, back to the fundamentals, and that's been satisfying from what I've been hearing from students.
That was a perfect segue, Bill, because the next thing I was going to ask is, I know people are really worried about applying to film school right now with COVID. So normally maybe they would have shot with a group of students, I know, and I say this to families all the time, but I know we're really worried about story. I've seen amazingly put together productions for application videos, and I've admitted a student that shot on an iPhone because it was just a better story. So maybe if we could talk a little bit about that. All of you read applications, so re-emphasizing that story and what we're looking for would be great. So if anybody wanted to share anything like that, that would be helpful.
Telling a story is about sharing a human experience. It's not about showing off your technical wizardry. Definitely, we have great facilities here, great equipment, and students, we become acquainted with that and can become employed with that, and they can expand their reach with that. But that's not the seed of it all. So we really are looking for a desire to communicate something through this visual medium. Just something, a specific point I saw in the chat, someone was asking, in my application film, which again, we don't expect it to be technically superior. We expect it to be an expression of who you are with whatever means you have available. Someone asked, can I sneak in some words? Can I put in like text and so on? And we just like to remind you that this medium, this filmmaking medium, which is still probably the most potent medium that we live with today, when it started over 100 years ago, it took over the world because it wasn't literary, because it was international. People speak different languages in different countries. When film became a popular media, a lot of people in the world were not were not literate necessarily. They couldn't read and write as well as we can today. So this was something that connected to them in another way. And so the attraction of the medium was that it could communicate through images and later with sounds added to those images. So please, just focus on that. It's not about, finding some way to sneak in some words or not. That's not what we're looking for. It's not about showing off if you were able to get a great drone, that you borrowed it from somebody. It's about whatever visual tool you have at your disposal. Can you communicate with us and show us something new? Which definitely you can, because it's the human potential in this is unlimited, and that's what excites all of us as teachers. So just show us what you've experienced and what you know about the world, and we'll be really happy to receive that.
Yeah, if I can add to what Pavel just said, it's a unique, or it's a powerful medium for making an emotional connection, and that's really how it appeals to people. In terms of when I teach in the writing classes that I teach, that's the first thing that I emphasize is identify the emotional need of the character, and then get show your audience how to be connected with that person or those people. So that's really what film does quite beautifully.
Yeah, I think applicants think we're holding a secret. We want to see this, everything's, we're holding them to such high standard. We are for storytelling. We want to hear something different. Everybody can Google top films that got into film school. A lot of the stuff online is the same right now. So if you can come up with a story that's different, that you want to tell, that would be helping you to tell that story, that would be great. We definitely would prefer to see that than the same types of stories we see all the time. I'm going to jump in, and we had a question on what is the faculty's favorite part about teaching at Chapman and at Dodge specifically. So I'll just go through my channel. So I'll start with you, Eric.
Working with the students, I firmly believe in. For me, I worked in the industry for quite a while, but I really enjoyed working with the students more than I enjoyed doing it myself. There's a real pleasure in that. So I think, and your students teach you as instructors something. You learn as much from them, if not more, than what they learn from you. So I don't know if that answers the question, but it's the relationships with the students and helping them to achieve what they want to do that it excites me about it.
Thank you. Roy, can you go next?
Absolutely. I would actually second that. Some of my favorite classes are ones that I consider sort of a mutual exploration. Obviously, I have a lot of things pre-planned and a lot of things, but to be open, to be flexible, as Michael has said many times, we're an art school, as well as teaching the craft. And so not losing sight of that. So I'm always talking about sort of the emotional power of sound to enhance image. And then the mentorship. I mean, it's probably the most rewarding thing. Yes, they're small classes, but even within that, having some students that either respond to what I have to say, or as I said, there's a kind of a mutual, a symbiotic relationship, creatively. So to kind of hear how people are starting to find their own voice and listen to that and nurture that is maybe the most satisfying aspect of this, besides all the endless committees that I'm part of.
Thanks, Roy. Scott, can you go next?
Yeah, I think it's feeding off the energy of the students. They're so excited to be here, and it's infectious. Because it's not easy to get in, it also demonstrates a level of commitment that I haven't really seen in any other program, where, to maintain a full-time academic calendar, to take a bunch of classes on main campus and still show up and work on sets mostly over the weekends, hopefully managing to roll back into class on Monday morning. It's a lot to take on. And those that do, I mean, I always refer to the Dodge students as overachievers, because a lot of the questions I'm seeing are like, what about a double major? Or, I'm really interested in my minor. And I was just going to say this: we don't encourage people to do double majors, but the ones that do usually kill it. I mean, you have to say, I want a double major in French and film production. And, it can be done. We don't recommend it, but it's that kind of enthusiasm that really I feed off of.
Thank you. Bill, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, one of the things that's incredibly satisfying is watching your students grow. Lots of times folks come in and they're not even sure what they want to do when they leave here quite accomplished. To add to what I was saying earlier about the pandemic, and I've had a chance to bring former students into the classroom. I had a class with Rachel Morrison, who was the cinematographer on Black Panther, was the first woman to be nominated for the Academy Award in Cinematography for Mudbound. This week, I have Gonzalo Amat, ASC, who was a cinematographer on The Man in the High Castle and lots of other great things. They're former students, and it's amazing to watch students grow and watch them become accomplished professionals. That's incredibly satisfying.
Thank you. John? Sorry,
You're still
John,
muted,
you're
John.
muted.
Sorry about that. I really agree with what everybody has just said, what Scott just said about how ambitious and exciting the students are to do the work that they do. It's a very high-powered, very, very interesting environment to be in. And I find across the board, not only are the students very motivated, but they're very smart. They're very sophisticated. They really have a lot of very interesting ideas. I think my favorite thing that I do is that I'll have a meeting with a team, with a director, a designer, usually the cinematographer and the producer. We'll meet in my office, and an hour beforehand, I will have read the script and will have made some notes. And then that initial conversation with them about how are they actually going to make this film? What direction that it actually goes in? Because if you really think about it, design is the next step after a movie's written. After a movie is written, really the physical environment that the movie is going to take place in, is the next step for that. And so you can think about it almost like as a relay race. Here's the screenwriter is like running with a baton, hands the baton off to the designer who does their work, and then the designer hands the work as the baton off to the director and the cinematographer and the actors. And then they hand it off ultimately to the editors, right? The people in post-production. So it's very exciting to be in all that mix. projects. And I love helping the students put their shows together. It's very fun.
Thank you. Pavel?
Yeah, this is an environment where you can learn and discover something new every day. So why wouldn't you want to be here? It's for a teacher, it's just as exciting as for a student. And we learn from everyone. I learn from students, other teachers, as the staff, just about every day I discover something new, and it's fantastic.
Dan?
Yeah, I agree with my colleagues. I've built such great relationships. I've been here now 22 years. So I started in '98, and so a lot of my students have gone into the industry, and I've worked with them in a professional capacity. I've become colleagues and friends, and I really like to see. One of the other things that's really that I'd like to mention is that one of the greatest resources that students have here are the other students and the relationships they form with each other while they're here. So there's a collaboration that happens through the structure of the school, but people tend to create these sort of clusters and then move out into the industry together. And that common experience has been fantastic. Some of our alum have created production companies together and and move on. Some of them have, I have a student, Tom Teller, who created Frame 48. He's doing so well. He's done some of the Muse videos. He's created a scholarship for other students here. So it's a community that sort of continues on past your 4 years or 5 years or 3 years here at the school on into the future, which is really fairly exciting.
Awesome. And last but not least, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I agree with all my colleagues. For me, I think one of the most exciting things is the learning. How I'm always learning. I always feel like when I'm teaching every week is like I'm making a new documentary. I have to research what I want to do. I'm trying to figure out what kind of clips I'm going to show, how I'm going to present the material, how I'm going to engage the students, how I'm going to raise questions. So I've always liked that. I mean, my background's in documentary, and I feel that there's a whole process of kind of discovery involved in teaching. And then, the community, the environment, this is a really collegial place. People get along really well at every level. And the students get along with each other. Everyone's collaborative. And again, that happens at every level. The staff, I think, works very well together, the faculty, everyone. And I think that's reflected, in the general culture of the place. So it's a very pleasant place to be. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Yes, and
Thank you.
coming to Orange is a fabulous place to work and play.
Yes, thank you so much. We try to get most of your questions. Most of them were answered in the chat. You're more than welcome to chat with any of our students. We have a chat called Unibuddy, so you can search Unibuddy on Chapman's website and you can chat with any current student. We just put the email in our chat as well, so if we didn't get to your question or you'd like to connect with the faculty, please email us here so that we can connect you with them. I'd like to thank all of the faculty for their time. I know they have a lot going on. Usually we host this event in person and they are amazing and they put on a great show for everybody. So thank you guys for taking the time. We hope we answered most of your questions, but if you have anything else, we're happy to chat with you after. So have a great day and stay safe, everyone. Thank you so much.
Hope you come.
Take care, everybody.
Yeah, have a good one.